Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Adjutant General, Brigadier General Neely, thank you for attending today's panel discussion with some of our most remarkable women in our ranks. I'm Command Sergeant Major Ballou, your facilitator for this event. Today is the 100th anniversary of women's equal rights to vote with the passing of the 19th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. We come to celebrate and pay tribute to the history of women's equality, past, present, and future. I ask that you please stand as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the prayer that will be given by Colonel Foster. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And let us pray. Oh, Heavenly Father, we have been very blessed by the women you've been put in our organization. We are so thankful for what they have contributed. We've contributed their insight, their skill, their passion, and their leadership, and we have definitely been changed as an organization for the better because of them. Thank you so much for allowing us the privilege to work with them. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, sir. Please be seated. All right. We're going to kick off this amazing event with many of you may know her, Major Jiwa Falana. Help me out here, ma'am.
Yeah, you got it.
Make sure.
Close enough.
I know her as Major Jiwa. So make sure your mic is on there, ma'am. So let me tell you about Major Jiwa. She has been amazing. She is. Sorry, I gotta help myself here. Could you hold on 1 second. I'm not sure what he did to me. Anyway, ma'am, you're the first female that commanded the HKIA hospital in Kabul. Is that correct?
Well,
Yes, ma'am. In Afghanistan. What was your experience like there?
it was quite interesting. It was very challenging. Having 10 NATO nations that served under me was definitely a different task, especially being a female. But the things that I leaned on heavily was my culture experiences, being first generation Ghanaian and Nigerian. I kind of pulled that culture shift in, and that helped out a lot. For example, I noticed with several of the different nations, the eye contact, right? So here in the U.S., if someone's not making eye contact with you, then you often think that they're either one, not truthful, or two, something's going on with the person, right? But within our culture, it's disrespectful to make eye contact with your elder when they're speaking to you, unless you're asked to make that eye contact. So those were a few of the things that I leaned heavily on, just going back to that, and that's what really got me through it.
Awesome. Did you find it to be challenging with the culture at all?
You just adapt, right? So just I kind of just studied the personnel that were under my command, and I just adapted. Took it day by day, so that's how we got through it.
There you go. You're the first generation African American member of your family from Ghana.
Correct.
Correct. And Nigeria, West Africa.
Correct.
How do you feel about representing your family while serving with the military, ma'am?
Okay, so I'll say they're very proud, right? So the first thing I'll say is within the Ghanaian and the Nigerian culture, if you do something well, you are everybody's daughter, you're everybody's sister, you're everybody's cousin, everybody embraces you. The minute you're doing something wrong, no one wants to have anything to do with you. So the good thing about that is I'm still welcome, I'm still everybody's daughter, everybody's sister. So that's a plus. The family is very proud, everyone asks for pictures all the time, so that's a good thing, and it's definitely bragging rights for the family. One thing I definitely would share, was when I redeployed from Afghanistan, my parents, the first thing that my mom said at the airport, she said, this is the first time I actually feel like a true citizen. And, I'm lost. I'm like, a true citizen? Mom, what are you talking about? First of all, I'm just coming back. I'm just like all lost. And I'm like, Mom, what are you talking about? She says, my daughter is actually a combat veteran. My daughter's a combat veteran. You went to war, so I'm actually a true citizen. So it meant a lot to her, and it means a lot to the family.
That was awesome. Since you were born in the United States, ma'am, have you traveled back to your parents' home?
I have. The last time I visited was 2016, was March of 2016. Definitely another eye-opening experience. It's like you go and you think you see poor here. No, there is poor. And you learn to be very grateful for what you have. It definitely was a life-changing experience.
Awesome. Has anyone else in your family served in the military?
Yep, so one of my older sisters, she served in the reserve, so she did her 6 years and she got out. So that's always like topic of discussion, how, I stuck with it, she couldn't hang, that type of deal.
Yes, ma'am. Do you have any encouraging words for the remarkable women in the military and those that are here?
Yep, so a few things that I jotted down is great people need great leaders. So we have to be those great leaders for everyone under us. Our blessings are not just for us, right? So we're all blessed to help other people out. So don't just embrace it, just help others out and remain humble no matter what. So the things that I do, I always think about like my worst experiences or the worst times in my life. And when great things happen to me, I go back to those experiences because it'll keep me humble. Don't get the big head. And then the final thing is just see the opportunity in every problem and understand that for every good thing that happens, you have to pay a price for it, right? So right now we're starting this. This is the beginning of something, but it'll be greater. We're at 100 years, so we're far ahead than where we were. I mean, women are doing phenomenal things, so we just definitely have to keep up that momentum and then just look out for one another.
No, you're absolutely correct. Yes, ma'am. The last country to bring the women's vote was Saudi Arabia, 2015. So very new into that. What are your near plans for the future for you, ma'am?
Continue to do great things for the Old Army, sure.
There you go.
Yeah, I just want to, just keep working hard, grow where I'm planted, and then bear the fruits of my labor. So I'm definitely enjoying my career. I really, really love my job. So one of the best decisions I've ever made, and just whatever comes with it. So I'm ready. So I'm enjoying life.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. And I know the audience appreciates you and bringing your personal experiences and things to that.
Awesome.
Next, I'd like to introduce you to Captain Jennifer Wittecamp. Sorry, ma'am. Captain Wittecamp, could you provide us with some remarkable background about yourself, your current positions, marital status, children, what you like doing when you're not in uniform, serving with the military, ma'am?
Okay, so I am married, and I've been married 10 years. I have 3 children. I have a 16-year-old and a 7-year-old and an almost 4-year-old this weekend. We try to spend a lot of time at home. I'm really blessed, and we have a small lake in our backyard, so we spend a lot of time kayaking, fishing, swimming, like always at home. So that's a lot of what I do outside of work. That and this last year I've gotten big into fitness. And trying to help people stay positive through this COVID-19 experience. I've been reaching out and have developed some groups to try to post positive things every day on Facebook, just trying to lift the negativity that's currently among us, and every time you scroll it's negative stuff. And so I spent a lot of my spare time doing those things this year. Yeah, so that's my family, what I do. In the Guard, I am 20 years in the Air National Guard. Majority of that has been spent down the street at the 183rd. I was security forces. I spent a little time as a paralegal, and most of my time has been spent in personnel, both enlisted and officer. I was enlisted for 15 years prior to commissioning, and I got a solid year in as a captain now. So, and then I work temporarily promoted right now in the Human Resources Office as a deputy HRO as a civilian, and then I drill here at Camp Lincoln, currently assigned under the J4.
Awesome. So, ma'am, what made you choose to serve, and why the Air Force?
Okay, so that's easy. So I had no direction after high school other than I wanted to go to college. I lived with my aunt and uncle, and my aunt, uncle, and my parents were very poor, so there was no paying for college, and I never even thought about taking out student loans or even knew anything about how that worked. So at the time, as life plays out, my current husband was one of my best friends in high school, and his dad was in the Guard. He was an enlisted EA, and he convinced me that joining the Guard would help me pay for college and give me direction, and he was very right. So that's what led me to the Guard, and especially the Air Guard.
Awesome. So Captain Wittkamp, at 19 years old, as a senior airman, you were the first woman to compete and complete the U.S. military sniper school, and subsequently became the first female sniper in the Air Force. Could you provide us with a glimpse of what that training was like and how your male peers reacted to you being there?
Okay. Yes, so at 19, I was fresh out of basic training and technical training, security forces school. It was, no kidding, my second drill weekend, and so I still had that mentality in the back of my head not to volunteer for things, that was a really bad idea. But they had, in a guard mount, mentioned that there was this training opportunity, and I thought, wow, sniper would be a really cool thing to know how to do and to be. And so when that guard mount ended, I went and volunteered to go to the school. But up until that point, you know, I'm 19, I've lived my life for me, and I grew up in Springfield and graduated from Williamsville High School. So outside of that, I haven't been around the world very much at 19. And so when I did volunteer, I was told I could not attend because I was female, and the look I got, like I should have known better than to ask to begin with, is a look I'll never forget. But as luck has it, so the way it worked is it was an Army counter sniper school in Little Rock. The first time the Air National Guard had ever been invited to this school. And the Army does not allow women to serve in roles at the time. This was in 2001. And so when they opened it up to the Air Guard, my leadership actually, on my behalf, worked with them and was able to get me accepted to come into the training as the first female, and because security forces allows women into their career field. So I went for 2 weeks to counter sniper training in good old Little Rock, and it was definitely an eye-opener. Air Force, right? So 1.5 mile run, a few push-ups, a few sit-ups, and you're done. At this training, day 1 was a 3-mile run with hills. I never ran more than a 1/4 mile in my track career because anything more than a 1/4 mile was too far. And then the pull-up bar, right? I was like, a pull-up bar? You want me to do a pull-up? And so it was definitely an eye-opener. Actually, the first day, after that first day of PT, 2 my male classmates were sent home. And so then there was just 8 of us for the rest of it. My experience while I was there had its ups and downs. I will tell you that midway through, I was ready to go home and say, forget this, because I was 19 and I didn't need to be treated how they were treating me. My sniper buddy accidentally had an accidental discharge downrange when he shouldn't have, so we were punished, rightfully so, for that. And part of that punishment included low crawling through puddles that they had been urinating in all day long, and that was kind of like my last straw, like, I don't have to do this. But luckily, I got over that pretty quick and was encouraged to keep going. And so outside of that, one stressful moment, it was a lot, rough marches and things that I just wasn't really ready for. And I had several people try to convince me not to attend the training and that I would be sent home and I wouldn't finish. Even some of my biggest mentors at the time were trying to tell me that I should not attend the training. But so at the end of it, they say women are better shooters, so somehow I got lucky and did that well. I did very well in land nav, but I don't take credit for that because the Army soldier I was with was very good at land nav. So I lucked out there. And then on the final test, I actually had the highest score in the class as well. And so it was a good overall experience. And then, but it was definitely stressful and it definitely pushed my limits. I had to give a sniper buddy an IV, and yeah, that you don't want me to give you an IV, okay? Back to this, my career's been personnel, all right? So don't look at me for IVs. But so after the school ended, I got lucky within the first month to go to a shooting match with the Illinois State Police and the Army National Guard. And one of the state troopers did not have, his sniper buddy was not there, so they let me to shoot with him when I was supposed to be going to work the match. And we were able to place second place in our team, and so I have one trophy from the one time I got to shoot after training. Our unit just didn't have the supplies available to maintain our qualifications, but since I have gone, several other females have attended and have deployed into combat as counter snipers from the same training, so.
That's amazing, man. Have they asked you to come back and speak to any of the schools or anything like that?
No, ma'am.
No. So what are your plans for the near future, ma'am?
Keep moving forward is my plan. So I'm just currently at a point where I'm just trying to figure things out, and you know, you need to always be prepared for what could come next or what could where life could lead you. And so I got a master's degree in human resource development, and I'm kind of looking at maybe pursuing a doctorate degree. And on the side, for somehow I'm gonna glut for punishment, and I keep going back for more college. But outside of that, just trying to figure out where to go next with things.
Do you have any words of encouragement for our audience today, ma'am?
So my word of encouragement for everybody would just be live life intentionally. Don't sit around and just wait for things to happen for you. Have a plan. So know, even just day by day, what your day is going to consist of, what you're going to do, and how you're going to make your way through that day. So, and have goals for yourself. And when you have a goal, have a plan on how you're going to achieve that goal, because nothing's going to happen good for you if you don't work for it. I will guarantee that all four of us up here can agree with you that the reason we're sitting up here is because we're go-getters and we strive and we see something and we go and get it and knock it out. And anybody in this room can do that same thing. You just got to not sit and wait for it and have that motivation and fire and want, and you can do all the same things as well.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure the audience appreciates that as much as I do. Now I'm going to throw a frago because that's what we do in the military. So, ma'am, I'm going to go back to the major here because I'm back in the hot seat, ma'am. So sorry. I kind of glanced over and skipped over I know you thought you were done. Could you give us some of your background, ma'am? Your current position?
So current position, I am the 198 CSSB Battalion XO, as well as OIC. I am married for almost 7 years. Had 2 children, ages 6 and 2. They keep me very busy. What else did you want to know?
Yeah, pretty much. What do you like to do outside the military?
So outside of the military, prior to COVID, I enjoyed trying out different restaurants. I love to eat. I'm always eating. So now that COVID happened, it's more so DoorDash, and I'm finally cooking again. So that's good. It's kind of like the first year of marriage again, almost, since I'm cooking more.
What's your best meal that you cook?
Spaghetti. It's delicious. It's really delicious.
I was going to be something great. I was going to invite myself.
my spaghetti.
Yep. So then the hobby, cars. I absolutely love cars. So I can just like sit online, look at cars, drive past dealerships and look at cars. Absolutely, I just love cars. So
New,
that's my
classic.
thing. No luxury cars. I just love them and always anticipating what's new and coming out. So that's my thing.
All right, awesome. Thank you, ma'am. So next, I'd like to introduce you all to First Lieutenant ILNG Figueroa. She is the first female officer, well, actually, to finish armor bullet. Correct, ma'am? Yeah.
That is correct.
So could you give us a little background on yourself? What are your hobbies? Do you have marital status, children? And where are you currently serving?
I am not married. I don't have kids unless you count a lot of pets as for kids. I am in the process of trying to sign up to be a foster parent, so that's a big thing in my life. I really love kids, but I don't really want to do the whole thing myself. Kind of like Major Jiwa, I enjoy eating. People that work with me know that all I do ever is talk about food. I get so excited about planning meals. I love doing Thanksgiving dinners and having dinner parties, and like nobody bring anything. I will take care of everything from appetizers to matching like desserts and drinks. That's really all I do. I think about food. I smell food. I look at pictures of food. I eat food. I tell other people to eat food. Like that. That's kind of where it all goes for me. So.
Exercise to combat
No, I think I've been pretty lucky in my genes. Both of my parents are very little. The COVID, 19 has turned into like a COVID 25 for me, just because, not as much outdoor activity, but I think I'm just lucky in that department. But I'm currently the OIC for the rear detachment for the Alpha Troop of 2106 Cav. The rest of my unit went forward and mobilized to Djibouti, Africa. On the joint staff, I work in the J37, which is the training and exercise division, so that's where I'm on ADOS doing at the moment.
Can you provide the audience with some of the armored bullet training that you went through? I mean, what does that look like, and how did your male peers react to you being there?
It's a lot of suck. So Armor Bullock is divided, for those of you that don't know, Armor Bullock is kind of divided into two. We have heavy armor, which think of your Bradleys and your tanks, and then we have light armor, which is what Illinois falls under. So we do reconnaissance, whether that means mounted or dismounted, we have Humvees that we do it on. So A Bullock was definitely a lot of hands-on in terms of learning a lot of different weapon systems, learning how to operate the mechanics of how to operate your equipment. It was also very awkward, heavy, a lot of field work, a lot of knowing how to take those orders from the higher level and break them down to your level, do a lot of mission analysis, a lot of enemy analysis. So it was just a very intense program. I had previously gone to Seaburn Bullock, and the difference between one Bullock to another is just a night and day. I tell people that going to Seaburn is kind of just like being a science major at a normal university, except you get to wear, a uniform. But being in Armor Bullock was like, being in the real army. It was, down at Benning, so as you can imagine, it was just a completely different experience. So.
And how did your male counterparts, were you the only female in that, or?
I was not. There were 5 of us. There were one other female who was in the National Guard in Tennessee, and 3 who were active duty. Myself and the female from the Tennessee National Guard, we actually volunteered to go to Armor Bullock, but the 3 others had actually been command directed, or rather they'd had their branch chosen for them. I would say that my experience being there at Bullock, especially for my male counterparts, were the most supportive environment that I've ever been. Prior to going to Bullock at Benning, I kept thinking like, holy moly, this is where the Rangers are made. I can't believe that I'm here. Little old me here is here, And I expected to be completely intimidated. I expected to fail from the first day. I expected to be surrounded by, your typical super hua 22-year-olds who are ready to, kick down doors. And they were the most motivating and encouraging people that I've ever served with. So Bullock actually has, Armor Bullock is also open to Marines because there are armor officers in the Marines, but they don't have their own school, so they come and do the Army school. So they come over here, and our actual cadre, our main cadre was Marines. So we had people from the reserves, free from active Army, we had National Guard, we had foreign nationals, we had a lot of Marines. So a lot of kind of conglomerate of different kind of people, different males from different backgrounds, and including my cadre. I mean, they never let us quit the females in there. They never let us use it as an excuse for ourselves of why we couldn't do something. They pushed us harder sometimes than they pushed our male peers. And it was just a really great environment to find myself in because it helped me build a lot of confidence in the fact that it made me believe that I really did belong to be there.
You're a first generation Mexican American, correct, ma'am?
That is correct.
And so how do you feel, how does your family feel about your service in the military, and have you actually been back to Mexico, your family's, your parents' country?
I have. So when I was a child, we used to travel back often. The first time I went down to Mexico, I was 6 months old. My parents both immigrated here to the United States, and my mom found herself being a single, well, not a single, but a first-time mom with a very young infant. So they went back to Mexico because they were, they needed family. So I've gone down when I was a child about every summer. It definitely gives you perspective on what life is like here. I hear a lot of the things people take for granted here, and things like, free public schools and everything else, and the things that people have that they throw away that, my family in Mexico wish they had. I have a cousin who's a month older than me, and her life is working in factories forever. School for her ended in 6th grade because that's only mandatory up to that. She's got, a little boy, and it ends up being a single mom, and it's just, it's a real big eye-opener for myself. So coming from that, I felt like it was like my duty to get back for what this country gave to me. And my family, I don't know, I wouldn't say that they're unsupportive, but I think for them it's just totally new experience. And what my parents know of the military is like the active duty side of what you see on TV, which you hear in the movies or in the news. So they're kind of weird about it, and I don't know that they really understand or don't understand it, but it kind of works for me. I think I'm sometimes a little bit of a loner in that term, so it's okay for me.
Are they proud of your service though, ma'am, or?
Yeah, of course, of course. I think more so when I graduated bowling and I sent them like a little class video that we do at the end. I was like, hey, mom and dad, look what I do. And my mom's still like, but you're my little girl. Why are you shooting the guns? But I mean, I think they get it, right? There's always that, you're my daughter, and they want me to stay their little girl forever.
Ma'am, do you have any encouraging words to share with our audience, ma'am?
Be comfortable in failing. I think that's been my biggest life lesson. I think a lot of people don't try things because they're afraid of failing. And joining the military for me, I had a lot of people who told me that I shouldn't do it, that it was going to be a big mistake, who tried to discourage me from doing it. Same thing going through OCS, same thing going through bowling. People try to tell me like, oh, that's not for you, you're not going to make it, what's the point? And it got to the point where I started to doubt myself. I started to think maybe those people are right, When things get hard, you start to think, do I belong here? Should I be doing this? Do I have what it takes? What is the purpose? And I think we need to all learn to get comfortable that we're not always going to succeed. It takes 1, 2, 3, maybe a million times of trying and failing over and over again to finally get it right. And I think sometimes people look at, women like us or people like us, and it's easy to look at somebody and not understand all the difficult things that they have gone through in order to get to where they are. And it's easy to compare yourself to somebody else without knowing their story or their struggles or how many times, we cried to ourselves or wanted to give up and, doubted ourselves just as much. So I always tell people, like, if you want to do something, don't think about the fact that you're going to fail, because you are going to fail. But just keep doing it until you don't.
Great answer. What are your plans for the future, ma'am?
At this moment, I'm kind of just taking it day by day. I've really been enjoying working in the Joint Staff. I've really enjoyed learning the Dom Ops experience to, the Army, because up until now, especially being in the cavalry, all we do is big Army, missions. On the civilian side, I'm hoping that eventually I'll go back to school to finish my degree, my undergrad in psych, and I'd like to one day open my own private practice, but that's kind of like my retirement plan, when you want to work, but you don't want to work. But as far as the Army goes, I'm really enjoying taking advantage of all these opportunities and getting a chance to do things like this. I think for me, this is kind of the whole point that I joined. I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to prove to myself that I wasn't what other people thought of myself. But then at the same time, I wanted a chance to kind of be able to reach other people and to encourage other people to say, hey, if I can do it, then there's no reason that you can do it. So as far as, what I'm already doing or what I wanted to do, I'm doing it right now. So everything else that I get to do from here on is just a bonus. And I feel lucky to do so.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your comments. I know the audience appreciates it as much as I do. And we also have Specialist Kleehouse. She is fresh to us from the Regional Best Warrior competition. So she is the first female that actually competed and won state for the Best Warrior and went on to regional, and we just finished those regionals up this weekend. So I approached her this weekend and said, you're coming with me. And she said, yes, Sergeant Major. So Specialist Kleehouse, can you give us some of your background, like what are your MOSs, how long you've been in the military, what led you to join the military?
Yes, I'm Major. So I joined the National Guard when I was 17. I graduated high school a whole year early. And so it was just a few days after graduation that I went ahead and I left for basic and I went all the way through. My MOS is 68 Whiskey, so I'm a combat medic. So I've been with the 708 Medical Ground Ambulance Company up in North Riverside for about a year now. So I've been in 2.5 years or so. And throughout that, probably something most remarkable I've done with them is competing. It's been a journey so far. Over a year now, we've gone from unit to battalion, brigade, we've gotten state and then regionals. So it's been a journey for sure. Civilian-wise, I like to keep myself busy. I work at an ER, a level 1 trauma center as a tech, and I go to school full-time. I just got my associate's degree, and I'm finishing up on the pre-med track at U of I. And so it's very busy. Don't have a lot of time, but when I'm not there and I'm not at school or work, you will find me at my local CrossFit gym. That is where I like to go ahead and just get ready for training or just kind of let it all out. And yeah.
What led you to join the military and why medic? Was there something that led you to medic or?
So both the military and the medical field, those are both something that I believe impacts a lot of people. I always wanted to do something with myself that would create an impact, that would do something kind of greater than myself, that could provide something. And for me, serving my nation and then serving the individuals that are in my nation, their health, and that's something that just means so much to me. Especially with healthcare, you can either do something so small or so big, and that creates such a huge impact on that individual. And so for both the military and for the medical field, that is my driving force.
Awesome. So you won state competition, went on to regional. We've yet to have a female best NCO out of Illinois, but we'll get there.
Yes.
So what did that competition look like?
So the competition is a multitude of a lot of events. I am a medic, so doing the call for fires and the FO things and the Army Warrior Task Lanes. It's a lot of infantry skills. You incorporate a lot of different elements and different training that you didn't get in AIT or you didn't get in basic. And for that, it was very challenging, and it made me push myself, but it made me a better soldier and a better individual overall, because I learned that I could actually succeed and keep up with these males that were at the top of their game, and some of them competed in American Ninja Warrior 3 times, and one was a biathlon and almost went to the Olympics. So it was really amazing to see that I could actually keep up on their level despite the fact that there was a lot of physical events, and we all know as we're tiny, I mean, compared to some of the males out there. And so just knowing that you can play to your own strengths and not let your weaknesses get to you, so.
That's actually a very good point. So kind of leads into the next question. So you actually had a male sponsor.
I did.
Was he able to give you any tips? Because for training, for carrying the weight, for packing your load, your rock, or anything like that, because the male body and the female body are so different. Males carry the weight differently than we do. Was he able to, I mean, I know he was able to help you, I'm sure, with the in-depth knowledge, book knowledge of things, but was he able to help you physically with anything?
So physically, he did take, kind of sounds a little weird, but he took videos when we were competing and everything, but it made me look at my form and made me learn how to train better for the next event and the next time around, because a lot of the times you don't see yourself train, you don't see what your physique is doing, like you don't see what you're doing. So that was something that was really helpful that he did, and he always had a motto that, you know, we're not just soldiers part-time, we're soldiers all the time. And so he would constantly check on me, make sure I am training, make sure I'm keeping up to standards, and so he was very helpful with everything.
Very encouraging.
Yes.
Awesome. So what encouraging words do you have for our audience today?
To never give up. Even when there is these daunting tasks in front of you, when there's things you think you can't accomplish and you can't do, never give up. Push through, because it might be hard, it might be challenging, but it is so worth it in the end once you get through. Even if you don't get first place, even if you don't make it there on top, you still went through. You still got that experience, you still got that knowledge, you still built from it, you still became a better person. And so I encourage everyone to just go past their boundaries and push themselves.
Awesome. What are your plans for the near future?
To go ahead and finish school, go on to medical school, and I do want to serve as an Army surgeon. So a lot of school left, but we're on our way.
One step at a time. Thank you for your answers. So that kind of led me to a question that's not on here, ladies. I'm sure you all do. I've had many. You have a mentor or one mentor that sticks out, and please answer as you, that really just encouraged you or helped you to get through something, a hard time, or get where you are today. Go ahead.
Yes, I have several mentors. One of them, I'm not going to call him out today, but he's currently serving as the Chief of Staff of the Element Army.
I'm glad you didn't call him out.
No, not at all. He helped me out tremendously, especially just during the hard times, I would say during the deployment. He would just always call at the right times, and I kid you not, every time he would call, I served I commanded a hospital while downrange, so we had actually 2 months where it was just brutal. I kid you not, every single day we saw at least 2 deaths, whether they were heart attacks, KIAs, whatever the case was. It was rough, and he would always call at those times, and a few times they're on the phone and they're just calling cold blue, and it'll just go dark. And then he would just follow up, and I started just to accept it and get over it. I just started making jokes out of it. And he'll bring me back like, Nikki, you don't sound right. What are you talking about? That's not normal. How you really doing? So it was just those little things. And he always said, while serving, also moving on to the battalion OIC position that I currently serve. I know I used to be a little harsh. You know, that was my leadership style. But one day he told me, he said, you're not harsh, you're just wired differently. And then he goes, you just have to treat your soldiers right and treat them well so that they will want to come to work. Make them want to come to work. That's all you have to do, and always trust your gut. So those are the things that I hold on to. Do my best to treat them well and do whatever I can to make them want to come to work. And then the final thing is he wrote me a note, which I have, and it says, be better than me. And he works pretty hard, so I don't know if I'm gonna try to do that, but I'll try to come close. But yeah, so Colonel Williams is my mentor.
Awesome. Anyone else? No?
I guess it's kind of hard to pick just one person. I've been really lucky that I've had a lot of different mentors at different times of my life. Even just like the simple things. Like I remember being at BOLIC on one of those days where it was really hard and I kept trying to pass the task and I started to doubt myself and I couldn't do it anymore. I remember going back to my my room, and it just so happened that my squadron XO at the time, Major Manager, that he got promoted there for a second, but still Major. He just happened to call me that same day, and it was just like, he kept me on the phone until I calmed myself down. He had me do the Superman pose. He had me, do breathing exercises, literally stand on the phone with me for like 3-4 hours until I was like, okay, let's get back in the game. Like, I can do this. But it's just been a very remarkable road for me that, like I said, I've been very lucky. I mean, starting from, Colonel Alessio, who believed in me the first time when I walked into his office and I said I want to do this. And I remember sitting across from him and I'm literally crying and telling him like, hey, I'm gonna suck, I'm sorry if I fail, like, I want you to send me, but don't send me, and he did it anyways. And I think I've just had a great opportunity to have had people that have believed in me, even if, there was a chance for failure. They were like, well, she's willing to do it, let's send her. So I'm just really thankful for everybody, whether you're a peer or you're a superior or you're even my Joes who push me, sometimes when I'm tired and I want to give up and they're so excited, they're like, man, come on, let's go do this. And I'm like, oh, okay. But, it pushes you to be better, so I'm just thankful for everyone.
Right. The reason I asked that question is because I'm sure maybe you have not ran up against this as a female in the military, a remarkable woman in the military. Many of my NCOES courses, I was the only female in that class, right? And I know I would not be here. I didn't have females to raise me. There wasn't a lot of us. So I was raised by some very excellent male soldiers, male officers. And so I know that we wouldn't necessarily be remarkable women if we didn't have the great men behind us, right? That's helped lift us up here today. So I thought it was important to recognize that as well. I mean, we're still getting there. And luckily, we've all had some really good mentors that were men, right? So I'm going to open it up with some general questions, and you can choose to answer them at your discretion, if you don't mind. So with it being the 100th anniversary of Women's Equality Day, the day that we're acknowledging the 19th Amendment that gives women the right to vote, can each of you provide some personal thoughts on this historical day? Nothing.
I think for me, I feel very lucky. Obviously, that something like that has happened and that people have fought for my right. So currently, I'm in an armor unit, and being the first female armor, there was this whole, there still is, policy that people junior enlisted can't go into IAT without there being 2 senior ranking officials of that branch qualified in that same unit. So currently there's just me, so if anybody here wants to, join the CAF, please do so, because there's other things I'd like to do in my career. But a lot of times, opportunities arise where people are like, hey, have you thought about doing this, have you thought about that? But at the moment, I'm not ready to move on from the CAV, but even if I wanted to, I feel that I have an obligation to still stay, because if I leave, then it closes that door for other people to come after me, which was kind of the whole point. Yes, I wanted to push myself. Yes, I wanted to do something different for myself. but I felt an obligation, just like these women who one day, a long time ago, fought for the right for me to go to school and be able to, own my own property and to be able to vote and to be able to walk the streets without getting, stoned like they do in other countries. I felt that if I could do something about it and I can open doors for other people, then it was my obligation to do so. So for me, this day is obviously huge and big, and I just hope that what I'm doing in my life, I can honor what those women have done as a show of gratitude.
That's awesome. Anyone else? No. So women around the world are becoming more prominent in positions of authority, and so what do you see the future of the United States as women are concerned? Where do you see us going with those positions of authority, and what do you see for the future as it concerns for women in the Illinois National Guard? I mean, I think you just spoke a little bit to that, ma'am. You feel that obligation to keep that door open, everything, but any thoughts on women of authority and around the world, how we've started to progress? Again, going back to a little bit of Saudi Arabia just getting the right to vote in 2015.
I think we're more confident now, so we are building on something great. I mean, the opportunities are there, the momentum is there, and women are now, we're brave now, and we're willing to take risks. So we're leading several companies. We're in those leadership positions, holding political office in several realms of all politics. So we're doing great, and I see it nothing but greater things, great opportunities for women.
So I see that it's just, you're gonna see more women in leadership roles in the Guard and across the country as time goes. The more that things are opened up and women are allowed to participate, the more that that's gonna grow, and the more that women find value in bettering, improving, and setting themselves up for success. It's definitely kind of cool to see, like, so for me, I'm really in a fortunate, lucky situation where I've been temporarily promoted into a leadership role lately. And so I'll get to go sit in meetings with leadership, primarily Army National Guard leadership. And a lot of times, unless Colonel Bowman happens to be in the meeting, I am the only female in the room too in that meeting, and then on top of that, in civilian clothes. And that's just, so it's been really cool to kind of see that stuff and see how it works, and that the Army is open to that, and that those roles are available, and that I've had those opportunities to sit in those positions. And I think that I have several close friends who are also females who are progressing through the ranks, and I think that it's just a matter of what people want and their determination and will to do it and the support to go with it. And so I think it's gonna be more, but you gotta keep in mind too, right? So we're looking at the military, the percentage of women in the Guard in general, so you can't always take those situations and judge how we're doing on it, because women are a lot smaller percentage of what makes up the military as well. So you're not going to see nearly as many females in all the leadership roles at any one time.
So where do you believe we're at with the diversity and equality and inclusion, ladies, as far as it comes to the Illinois National Guard, as far as that's concerned? I think you just spoke a little bit to it, ma'am. We are a minority, but we're a minority militarily as a whole, I think, in DOD. I mean, it's just not, females don't usually go, hey, the military seems like a great idea, you know. But
we have some work to do, but I think we're in a good place. We're trending upward, so we're doing good. So we're heading in the right direction. That's what I'll say.
Agreed. I definitely do think that there's some work to do. Like she said, there's times that she finds herself being the only woman at a meeting, So there are many times where I find myself being the only person of color and a woman at a meeting. And, you can only see the world through your own eyes, so it's not like you walk around with a mirror and it's not something that you constantly are aware of. You learn to operate in the world and you are who you are, and that's it. But there are times where I'm sitting in a room, whether it be a schoolhouse, it be, anywhere else, and I realize, like, for a split second, it dawns on me, and I look down at my hands, and something catches my own awareness, and it does bring it to my attention, and it's like, for me, I'm lucky that I'm there, and I'm lucky that these small changes have started to occur that, allow more people to be in leadership or just in general representation, but there definitely still has to be more. I think we're at a good time, with the Colonel Rochelle's JADAC program and things that are being brought to light that, there is a need for diversity, and it's not just because, oh, we look different, so we need to have everybody that looks different, but it's that, bringing of ideas that can help bring the organization together in a greater way.
Yeah. So ladies, what if any challenges you feel you faced in the military, and how did you deal with those challenges? Because it's not just that you have a challenge, but we all have a choice as to how we're going to deal with it. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you feel you faced, and how did you deal with it?
Well, I feel like with that, the biggest challenge is usually yourself, especially when you're going through training. You're your own worst enemy. You speak your own worst thoughts, and you can bring yourself down more than anyone else can. So I feel like going through this and actually getting to the point of being able to build yourself up and come to that conclusion that you can do more and you can be better. Intimidation is a big factor in the military. Even just looking at it, people are intimidated by uniforms. People are intimidated by what the military does or what it's a part of. That's just a fact of life. But getting past that and seeing that females are interacting, like combat arms, we're having more females there. And Rangers, we just had more females past that. So it's just one step forward for one female is a step forward for the rest of them, because it's showing that we can open these doors, you can look past that intimidation, you can do it, and you don't have to be your own worst enemy. You can actually be your best motivator as well. So.
Very true. Some of the challenges that I know personally that I've seen coming through the ranks through the years that I speak to a lot is the equipment for females. They have finally come out with, and I've seen it in the SBAB, they've got a new armored vest for us that actually collapses rather than leaves us open for the fatal shot, right, when we're laying down in the prone and everything, and it comes up a little higher so it's not hitting us in the kidneys and in the hip flexors where we can't move. And then the weapons with the collapsible buttstock, our arms and hands are not a million miles. And so I like seeing these changes come about, and we haven't asked, for these changes necessarily, but my thought has always been, if you give me the right equipment, I'm going to be a more effective and more efficient soldier for you. One size doesn't fit all. So those were some of the challenges that I recall. And I'm sure that you've dealt with it too, where you're the only female in that group, so they stick you 150 miles away from your guys, right? And I don't know about the rest of you, but that irritated the crap out of me. So I wanted to be with my team. So I think we're coming around, and we're getting better equipment. We're realizing that teams matter, inclusiveness. Well, inclusiveness means I want to be with my team and things. And then when those thoughts do occur, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, or I'm up against the wall here, I've got to go through a puddle of urine, I don't know that I really want to care to react to this. Exactly. You have to be able to overcome that and tell yourself, I can do this, it's just for the moment, we'll be all right, and just keep moving forward. So anything else you ladies would like to add?
Well, I'll add to that. That just starts with us as females speaking up, right? Because something as simple as the uniforms. Now we have the uniforms that fit us better. Our maternity leave has changed. So many things that actually affect us. We just need to speak up about it, because not to say that our male counterparts aren't thinking about it, but that's not the main priority at the time. So if we speak about it, then that's the only way things will change.
Very good point, yes, ma'am. And the way we speak about it makes a lot of difference.
It's all about the tone.
All right, so do you ladies have anything else to add? Any thoughts to give? Any encouraging words? Keep moving forward.
Be brave.
All right, well, thank you ladies for those responses to those questions. We have a few minutes left. Does anyone from the audience have any questions? No. All right. Well, we are. Yeah. Yes, sir.
No one else is going to ask it. Lieutenant Colonel Will with the G4. What kind of advice would you give females in preparing for the ACFT? Because there's a lot of chatter about that, and it is a concern of ours, obviously, and it's a concern of mine. I'm a male, but what, as a female leader, what would you give advice advice for our females in preparing for the ACFT, since it's not gender specific anymore?
I mean, we know that you're out of this one. Okay?
I mean, I still got opinions for days.
Major, we'll start with you.
Strong too.
Yeah, Major, we'll start with you, man.
I would say what I'm doing, I've downloaded the app and just attacking it little by little. So that's the only advice that I can give. Download the app and just get after it. That's the only advice that I can give.
So I'm still a little iffy on that. You know, you can practice, you can be the better at running, do push-ups, do sit-ups and everything else and get a 300 on the current test, right? But when the ACFT first came out, I was a little bit discouraged when you see what the maxes for each are. You know, what is the deadlift? Something like 400, 420. And I was like, when am I ever going to be able to do that? You know, like I could take testosterone shots and everything else, and like maybe if I get lucky, I might be able to do that in my life. So I'm still kind of playing around with that. I know that, you know, you could take and pass the test, like she said, you know, you can definitely do things yourself. A lot of it is mental, right? A lot of it is like, hey, maybe I don't think that I can do this, but you just got to get over that mental hurdle and just go ahead and do it, and you'll surprise yourself. But like I said, I'm still dealing with some parts, deciding whether I like it or not. I think that the events themselves are a lot more relatable to what you need to do on the job, and I do like that. I do like that it kind of puts it not just, you know, do a bunch of cardio, or, you know, you can just practice for the PT test a week before and then, you know, be okay with it, but it requires a lot more endurance, and those things are good. But knowing that I'll never be able to max it out, because physically a 5'2", 135-pound person, when am I going to be able to deadlift 420 pounds? That's a little discouraging, but that doesn't keep you from trying your best either way.
So I have done the ACFT with the males, and it is humbling. I will say that. But I feel like it prepares you a lot more for like actual combat and actions you would actually take. Because the APFT, you can nail that. You can be a cardio bunny and whip through it and you're fine. But you actually need muscle, and you need a lot of muscle to ruck. You need muscle to actually like go over obstacles. You need muscle to actually like get through things. Like, so you need that muscle. You can't just always like rely on the cardio aspect of everything. And so I feel like the ACFT really pushes everyone, and I recommend for training CrossFit. I know it sounds like a cult, and that's what it's made out to be, but it's fantastic. I'm not just saying because I do it, but it actually does help. You work on the deadlifts, you work on everything, like all those skills that are actually in the ACFT, you are working on all the time, and it's something that I feel like it is empowering. It makes you feel like you can do more, and you can actually, I don't know, you can do more. I like it. I like the new test.
And so personally, I feel with the ACFT, I was APFT, getting my badge. I know with the ACFT, I will never max it, which is a little bit of a God darn it kind of thing, right? But the only event that as fit as I feel I am, and hitting it hard as I do, sir, that I'm concerned about is the knee tuck, as most of us are, but we hear that maybe that's just because we're hearing all the negativity from the female. I'm good for 1, 2, possibly. My weakness with that event, sir, is going into a complete dead hang. And what I found is that and I don't know what the exact name of these, someone in the medical field help me out, the little muscles in the back, that as a female I didn't develop coming up through in high school. I didn't wrestle. I didn't I did softball and things like this is what females in society were doing. So hopefully with our younger generations coming up through CrossFit and things, maybe they'll develop those muscles a little bit earlier than I did. But going into that dead hang, if they would just let me not necessarily go into the dead hang and keep a little bit less than a 45-degree angle, I could knock a heck of a lot more out. So it's developing those back muscles for me that I'm finding to be very challenging. Other than that, I do feel that any female in here is capable of passing the ACFT. That how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Just start a training program, as the major said. Don't let it intimidate you and start getting after it. The longer you wait, the harder it's going to be. It's not the APFT. You cannot just go out and pass. So that's it, sir. Any other questions? Ma'am, would you like to try the ACFT?
So I do have I always got 2 cents, right? So I am blue, and I do not have to do that right now. But I will tell you, I've been put in physically challenging and demanding places before.
Right.
It's all about, and this is geared toward a healthy lifestyle. You can't just wake up, go out and do it. And, you know, I'm due to do my own fitness assessment in October, and I can wait until a month out and go do that. But it's the healthy lifestyle and it's the determination and the want to do it. Stop making excuses. You have to do it, you need to do it, so start finding a way to get to the solution. And so for me, my lifestyle includes every morning I work out and I lift weights. And so I do understand for women, because it took me a long time to get where I'm at doing that it's intimidating to walk into a gym. So you imagine walking into any one of the gyms on this installation as a female, and probably even just for males sometimes too, getting started is hard and it's intimidating. I finally, at this old age, feel comfortable walking in the gym and knowing what I'm doing and how to lift. And women, that's not just naturally for them a lot of times, and it's not something that's comfortable. But to pass that, you're gonna have to lift weights, you're gonna have to practice all year. You cannot wait until the fit test time and just whip by it. And so, even though I'm not taking the assessment, that is my opinion, is if they can find a mentor to help them feel comfortable in the gym and lifting, that's gonna be huge. And just changing that lifestyle to include physical fitness every day.
Good point, and along with that is nutrition. We often forget about the nutrition piece, or we try to ignore it altogether. Ma'am, I'm just saying. But nutrition is a very big piece of it. And it's something that in the military we don't focus enough on, sir, and we definitely have not focused enough on it with the ACFT as leaders and things. So, anyone else have any other questions? Kind of off topic. Yes.
Colonel Dan
Yes,
Wright,
sir.
Army G1. Now that Alpha Troop is now open to female enlisted soldiers, and obviously Combat Arms is open to female soldiers as well, we still struggle filling Alpha Troop, and obviously you know that. We also struggle filling Combat Arms officers with females. So from four of you, any ideas on how we can get better at that and maybe focus our efforts? Because we're really just
To be honest, I don't know if a lot of people are aware that that is even an opportunity. I've been in Alpha Troop since 2017. I went through BOLIC in 2018, so I've been with the unit for a couple of years, and I still encounter people that are like, oh, I didn't even know. I didn't know that women could do that now. So a lot of it, honestly, is really just awareness. And I think it's also in encouraging the women that we have to make them believe that, they can. It's like she was saying, a lot of it is the intimidating factor, right? Like, I've done that, right? Gone to basic training and I compare myself to, blonde hair, blue eyes, 6'2", muscly guy. And I'm like, well, what am I doing here? What could I possibly do? What I can compete? But we all have different strengths, and maybe physical fitness might not be my strength compared to somebody like that, but that doesn't mean that that's the only thing that is of value when you're a soldier, when you're a leader. There's more to that, and I think we need to do a better job, not just in letting people know that these opportunities are available, but also encouraging and believing in the women that we already have in those ranks that this is a possibility for them. Because it's easy to look at something and be like, oh, that's too hard, oh no, And sure, sometimes being in the field can get overwhelming, sometimes you get tired, you get cold and hungry, but that's just like any other part in the military, well, at least maybe for me, because I've only been in those roles before, but it's nothing that, that kills you. It's something that you can definitely overcome and overdo. You just have to make other people believe in themselves and just let them know the opportunities are there.
And you brought up a good point earlier, ma'am. Don't be afraid to fail. Everybody fails. Males do the same as females do. So
That was definitely a big takeaway, I think, for me at BOLIC. I had a lot of male peers who were just equally as terrified as I was when we got down to like one-on-one and, the real. I saw plenty of my male peers cry or think that they were really going to go home, and they were just as worried, maybe if not more than I was. And I think to me that was a real big eye-opener, because here I was thinking that this was just me in my head, that everybody else was great and comfortable and killing it, and that's not true. So to come to the realization that, yes, gender-wise we're different, but at the end of the day we're still people and we still fear the same things, like that was a big one for me, I think.
excellent point. Any other questions? Yes.
Hey, Major Miles from the Chief's Office. I want to just hone in on a couple of comments that Major Jiwa said and Lieutenant Fig regarding your comment to say be brave and yours about not coddling your daughter and letting them kind of be out. So I'm the father of a 13-year-old daughter, and I've been told that I'm entering in this phase of our relationship that could be challenging in the next couple of years. So I just want to get your take on the role that your father's played in helping you to be an inspirational leader and being on the stage today. What can I take back to her tonight when I talk about this discussion with her to help her become someone like you guys?
That's an awesome question.
That's a great question.
Go ahead.
So my dad pushed me. I mean, pushed me to the point where sometimes I thought I actually was a boy. I was just like his son. So he just pushed me, and he just never let me give up, and still to this day. So as you enter, you're about to go into a different phase, right? So you definitely have to just be there for her like you have been, but just encourage her to do great things and just continue to show her examples of whatever it is she's trying to achieve, and you'll be fine. And just listen to her, hear her out. It'll be some things that she doesn't want to talk to you about, but it'll go full circle, and then she'll come right back to you to get that advice. Because dads give better advice on some things than we can get from mom. But yeah, you'll be fine. Just continue to push her though.
Ma'am, Captain?
So I think for me, my dad's kind of a little confusing, to be quite honest. So my dad is very traditional in the whole patriarchal culture. My mom was never allowed to go to work, never allowed to have a license. I mean, they're very into the Hispanic culture. But my dad never treated me that way. So like growing up and watching the way that he expected other his sisters, his mom, my wife, his wife, exist or what was expected of them, that was never, my case. My mom would tell me things like, hey, you need to learn how to cook, so one day you're gonna keep your man happy, Got that one down, though I didn't like the cooking part. But, it's like my dad would always tell her, like, hey, like, no, like, don't worry about that. You've got school, like, you don't need to, you're gonna want to have enough money to hire somebody to cook and clean, like, that's not for you. So when my mom was pregnant, my dad wanted me to be a boy, and I was obviously not born a boy. And so I think that he sort of, just like, Major G, my dad kind of treated me like that. My dad was a truck driver, still is, but he always told me to work with him. I was always in the dirty places. My mom would put me in dresses and pigtails, and my dad would take me out, and I'd come home scab knees, ponytails, lopsided. It's like my dad never really treated me like a girl. And even though all around me, my culture was telling me that they expected something different, like my dad gave me a glimpse enough of a different way of life to know that like that I could be more than just that, and my dad treated me that way, and I don't know if he meant to, I don't know if like it was ever intentional, some kind of, anything about him, but him pushing me and making me be tougher and like, hey, you fell